Hello, everybody, and welcome to another cuppa. And this episode is going to be a little bit different to our previous ones. And we're going to be going on a journey with Earth Healing Frequency with Natasha. And Natasha's been on our Cuppa Hub before. And for those who haven't had the chance to watch that episode, I'd like to introduce you to Natasha. And Natasha is an energy therapist, a spiritual teacher, and a coach, and an author. She has spent the last 21 years exploring and learning all about energy, where it comes from, and how it can help us. Her first book, Freedom of the Soul, is a proactive workbook helping the reader to find their spiritual path through energy management. For the last 2 years and a half, Natasha has presented Bound to the Soul podcast, which is now over 70 episodes, and she regularly presents teaching days and a slot on Felixstowe Radio in the UK. Natasha's vision is to promote and teach the principles of energy management by reference to energy healing modalities and the use of energy in our daily lives in order to assist people to live in a more balanced and centered state of being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual basis. Thanks to her experience in learning about energy management, Reiki, crystals, hypnotherapy, past life regression, future life progression, life between lives and the soul continuum, as well as a BSc Earth Science degree, and a master's in parapsychology. I've said that right, haven't I? Natasha has been able to collate an abundance of information and ideas on how to start looking at your health of the energy in your energy field and how to create your own daily routine. And Natasha's price offerings can be found on her website, which is www.dandeliontherapies.co.uk. And as Instagram, you can find it as Natasha Price Author. And her second book is also shortly to be released. So welcome, Natasha. Welcome back.
Thank you. Hi, Kelly. It's lovely for you to have me back.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today. Journeying with the earth healing frequencies.
Yeah.
So we can get started on this. What is the most important aspect of working with earth healing frequencies? Maybe you'd like to enlighten our viewers with this.
Yeah, sure. Well, earth healing frequencies are literally elements of the earth. So we're talking trees and crystals and water and magma, using those elements for your healing. But the most important point is that we are designed to be on this planet. We don't go anywhere else. We are on this planet. We are absolutely linked to the planet.
Okay.
And we need to be grounded properly. And a huge number of people are not grounded properly. And that's because of all the infrastructure that we have, the concrete and shoes, and which isn't a bad thing at all. But what it does mean is that there's a layer between us and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we as human beings are electrical circuits. So we have to be grounded properly. And when we are grounded properly, we heal better, we sleep better, we just function in a much better way. We have greater clarity. We just feel better because that's what we're designed to do. We almost have to be plugged into the earth to be functioning at our optimum, basically. And a huge number of us are not. So that is the first most important factor. And there's lots of products out there. You can get grounding shoes now. You can get sleep on grounding
shoes. I've heard of grounding mats and all that, but I haven't heard of grounding shoes yet.
Yeah, you can do all of that. And I'm not sort of disrespecting those, but you cannot beat going and standing on the grass. I know it's not the brilliant weather for it, but you need bare feet on grass and just get that real connection, or on a beach. We always talk about walking along the water's edge and just soaking up those negative ions and how much better we feel. Or even like forest bathing, that's now such a thing, it's so popular, just breathing in those frequencies. But if we can do it with bare feet, all the better.
Definitely. I mean, some people obviously are down in the cities and they haven't maybe got a green area near them. They might not be able to get to a park. These things happen. How about what are your thoughts on someone trying to ground themselves on just simply concrete, or even in like somehow in their own home?
I mean, that there's nothing wrong with that, and
Mhm.
it's just basically getting your bare feet onto any part of the surface of the earth, if at all possible. And like I say, you can get grounding pillowcases and grounding mats, and
Mhm.
it's basically just plugging yourself back in, basically, and grounding yourself. You know, an electrical circuit has to be grounded, and that's what we're talking about. So there are other ways to ground, you know, like go hug a tree, or
Yeah.
if you haven't got a tree, just go and put your fingers in the earth, or you know, even if you've just got a balcony and a few pots, just go and tend to the pots and actually
Mhm.
feel the earth. You know, that's ways of grounding.
Yeah.
Um,
That's on a
it,
very physical way of obviously
yeah,
we have spiritual ways how we can connect and ground ourselves that way.
yeah,
But I like the idea that you're giving us, and it's very simple at the end of the day.
yeah,
It's
and
just
it doesn't cost anything
mm,
either.
that's
But
great.
obviously, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we can ground in other ways.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, using our inner sight, our inner mind. But
Mhm.
I'm talking about the physical, just getting
Yeah.
to grips with,
Being
um,
on this planet as the being
yeah,
we are, basically, and
yeah,
actually connecting ourselves and not kind of wanting to hop off to somewhere
yeah,
else in the cosmos, basically, yeah.
yeah. It's very easy to, you know, get into the routine of meditating, which is brilliant. It's all brilliant, but you can end up really not grounding back into
It's
your
very
body
true.
properly.
That is very true indeed.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned hugging a tree, because there's something which we hear a lot. Why are trees so important?
Well, trees are, I mean, ecologically, trees are really important. You know, they provide, obviously, they give out oxygen and take up CO2. We do the opposite, so we need them for
Mhm.
our atmosphere. They create habitats for insects, birds, little mammals. That's all really important. They bind the soil and stop soil erosion, you know, and stop all the earth washing away
Uh-huh.
in rain. If they're in communities, and there's one tree that is suffering, all the others will send nutrients to it to
That's
help it to
true.
boost it.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me, all of this is really, really important, but there's something extra important in trees for me. You know, I think energetically
Hmm.
they are amazing. And there's always like hug a tree, you know, there's always a little element of truth in these sort of old wives' sayings.
Yes.
And, you know, with a nod looking back at the ancients and what they believed before all of this infrastructure came about, when they were actually living and living in with the trees, and they had much more of a relationship with
Yeah.
the trees. They had knowledge that we then seem to have lost a lot of. You know,
Hmm.
a lot of the ancient knowledge we've lost as we've sort of grown in a different direction, if you like, and become civilized in a different way.
True.
We've
Yeah.
sort of lost a lot of that knowledge. And I think that's very true for trees, actually.
Okay.
Trees energetically, I mean, they have all of these uses. And we now know trees make noises. You know, there are researchers in France now have found a way to monitor the noises that trees make so that they can work out if a tree is beginning to struggle a little bit, or so that
Wow.
right at the beginning they can say, right, we need to do this, we need to do that, and help them.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so there's more to trees than, you know, it's the same as any element on this earth. There's more to it than we at first think, is
Yes,
my
of
belief.
course. Yeah, of
And
course.
we can use trees for healing.
Hmm.
You know, and again, it's free. Everybody can get to a tree, hopefully.
So how would you
Um,
incorporate healing with a tree?
Go and hug a tree.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah, it's easy as that. I mean, everything, when we talk about healing, when I talk about healing, I talk about the energy field, and we all have an individual, completely and utterly unique energy field, because the energy contains all our emotions, our thoughts, which are energy, our life experiences, our traumas.
Mm.
If you expand that a bit more, you can then start to talk about all the past life elements coming in, or the future life elements, however you want to class it. Everybody's energy is absolutely unique, and therefore we all
Okay.
have our own vibration, completely unique vibration. And if you put something that's vibrating, like if you hug a tree and you're connecting into the vibration of the tree, so
Mm-hmm.
you're putting something that's vibrating into our energy field,
Mm-hmm.
then the two will try and find a common rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Two will try and get entrained and just get in sync. And
Ah.
that's why all these elements affect us. So when you're looking at vibrational medicine, you're talking about essential oils,
Mm-hmm.
which trees are. There's a lot of tree
There
essential
is.
oils.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
are.
lots of
Mm-hmm.
elements. So you're talking about trees, the leaves, the barks, the roots. They're all used.
Mm-hmm.
Crystals, symbols, and of course, sound healing, which
Yeah.
is vibration itself.
Mm-hmm.
All of that it comes under the umbrella of vibrational medicine. So all of it will shift our energy. So to start to work with trees is, either physically get in touch with a tree
Mm-hmm.
or use essential oils. That's
Yeah,
a lovely way of doing it, because there are so many out there.
there are.
Um, and they are very, very concentrated. So you just need a sort of drop, and then you are tapping into the frequency and vibration of the trees and getting that, and which will shift your energy in some way.
That's really interesting. That's really actually good because, also, with there's like the Dr. Bach remedies as well, a lot of
Yeah.
those with the tree elements as well. So
And
yeah.
flowers and plants,
Hmm.
they cover all of it, don't they? But yeah,
They do indeed.
yeah.
Um, you've mentioned before to me that the Celts had a very important relationship with the trees. Would you like to share that with our viewers today?
Yeah, the Celts, of course, when the Celts settled in England and Ireland and northern France, it was just heavily forested. There
Mm.
wasn't any infrastructure. So they lived with trees, and they really came to form a relationship with trees. Trees were incredibly important to them.
Mm-hmm.
They believed that trees had magical properties,
Mm-hmm.
and each a tree had a spirit of its own.
Yeah.
They believed that trees were portals to different dimensions, and they did all of their rituals and ceremonies in a grove of trees, in a circle of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all the utensils that they used were commonly ash and oak and hawthorn, because that was the most common trees at that
Yeah.
time. And they would, um, carve all their instruments out, or utensils and what they used in the ceremonies from those woods.
Mm-hmm.
And they really created this relationship with them. But then they took it a step further, if you like, because they seemed to understand that all the trees had different properties,
Okay.
and they created a symbol for each tree.
Uh-huh.
But they also recognized, and this is what really interests me, is that they recognized that sort of a grove of trees where they could do their ceremonies had a different feel to it, had a different energy. And
Okay.
so you get a symbol for a grove, coad it was called. And to me, that makes me think that they were tapping into the energy more as well, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a sacred space to you. You create that space, you do all your rituals. It gets a different feel to it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So I think they were putting symbols, very much different energies, different vibrations. I believe that they had tuned into that really. But yeah, they created this secret language, if you like. So a symbol for the trees, different places that they used and went to, like a grove, and they created this sort of secret way of communicating, if you like.
Okay.
which then slowly evolved
So how do
into.
we know about these symbols that were used?
Well, we obviously don't know, or we don't have evidence from the symbols that were on the wood, because obviously that would rot down and
Yes.
disappear. But there are in Ireland and England, Isle of Wight, northern France, you find standing stones. So huge, big stones that they've placed, and
Mm-hmm.
then they've carved the symbols around the edges of the stones.
Oh, okay.
So that was how they, and then eventually, I think it was around the 6th century, they started writing them down because,
Mm-hmm.
and so we've got manuscripts. So the symbols slowly became what they called the Ogham alphabet. Um,
Oh.
and Ogham, the word Ogham came from, we think it came from the Celtic deity Ogham. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay, I don't know
Ogham.
of them. Yeah.
And or it came from the word that sort of meant making a mark, which
Okay.
sounds very much like Ogham. So
Mm-hmm.
they created this alphabet, um, and that was the beginning of our alphabet.
That's fascinating. That's
So
really
we are linked with the way that we talk and speak and write. We are linked to the trees automatically, really.
okay. From the regions what you spoke of, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. So
Yeah. It is fascinating.
how can we start connecting to the Celts and their knowledge what they actually had?
Well, there's lots of ways you can have a look at the Ogham alphabet and the individual symbols for each tree, because each tree has for them had a different meaning
Mm-hmm.
and a different healing
Okay.
ability. Okay, so like oak was obviously for strength. Ash was maybe taking action to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Hawthorn was about protection, purification.
Mm-hmm.
So we can use the symbols, and we can, you can use them during Reiki sessions, or just you can use the
And you can
symbols.
actually incorporate them into the modalities that you actually,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah. So you can use them
interesting.
if you're giving Reiki, you can write them in the air, you can write
Mm-hmm.
them on the palms.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not doing it Reiki, if you're doing something else,
Yeah, of
meditation,
course.
you write out the
Yeah.
symbols and what you want to, you with your intention to actually take on some of that information, that healing. If you
Mm-hmm.
perhaps are worried about, something, what's my next step? Where do I have
Mm-hmm.
to go? You're frightened to make the wrong decision. You're frightened to do anything in case it's wrong. You know,
Okay.
you can maybe meditate on that and use one of the symbols like ash to to maybe get some wisdom and some healing and make that decision that you want to make.
And is it possible for actually anybody to do this? They don't need to be, energy attuned to Reiki or anything
Tune.
like that. They can just do it with the intention, can't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't think you need to be
I don't think so
in tune
either.
to
No,
anything,
I don't think so either.
no,
No, no, no.
no.
I think it's available to everybody
Of course,
who wants to, who,
yeah,
obviously and doing it from a pure heart base as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can also use the Ogham sticks as well. You can buy Ogham sticks, and these are I've got some here, which are really they are literally sticks.
Okay, they are literally sticks, like a
They are
chicken in
literally
the woods or
sticks
something.
made from different wood types. And then I
Okay.
don't know if you can see that, but it has a
Yes,
symbol of different symbols for
it looks like a
each
stick
of,
man.
yeah, little stick man.
It looks
They're
like a fish.
different symbols. And they use the woods for divination. So the Ogham sticks are another way that you can, ask a question, pick 3 sticks,
Like an oracle card or a tarot
like
card,
oracle
basically.
cards, exactly. And
Uh-huh.
there's a lovely, lovely little book out there by a lovely lady called Glennie Kindred.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful book. It's all about the different trees, the different uses, and how to make your own ogham sticks.
That's cool.
So you can, I'm sure you can buy a set, but you can go and make a set as well, which I just think
That's
is
really
amazing.
special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were also used for divination, and that's something you can still use now. You can still set your intention to get information that you want,
Mm.
just like you would with angel cards,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
you're
again,
basically tapping into your intuition. You obviously, through that, you're tapping into your connection to source as well, aren't you?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And of course, you can use these in meditations, in healing sessions, whatever modality you do,
Mm-hmm.
you can incorporate tree energy, you can incorporate the essential oils, you can incorporate the symbols,
Yeah,
you
and the
can
tree's
incorporate,
really going to ground you in as well, isn't it? Because you
yes,
can imagine, like, when you do it energetically, you always have the visualization of the roots, like a tree coming out of the soles of your feet or out of your tailbone or something like that. So
yeah,
by even incorporating it in that way, yeah.
yeah. And I found through experience for me, the tree and oils and really tuning into the trees has really strengthened my energy field. I
Mm,
feel like that's a major um, attribute to sort of working with tree energy. I
yeah.
do feel that it creates almost like a mesh on your, that's how I'd explain it, but it just creates protection and strength. So it's if that's something that you need for your energetically, maybe you're always picking up things from other people or very affected by the energy in the
Yeah, because
room.
you're super sensitive and, or super
Yeah,
empathic and you just like sponge it all up. And there's so many people who
yeah,
are like that. So it's because, it's not, there's always a reason why it's always encouraged to get out in nature. And, like
yeah,
you say, trees, they're wisdom keepers in my eyes as well. And,
yeah,
I've connected with the Akashic records of many trees. And it's just like, it's they're very special. They are very, very
yeah.
special indeed. And if you can actually work with it in the way that you're explaining it to us today, I think it's incredible and it's available to everybody.
Of
You don't need
course.
to go and get certified into it or anything like that. You can go
No,
and do it right now after you've watched this
yeah,
against it or next week,
yeah,
whatever you feel called to. And I'm sure you agree as well, Natasha, that um everyone will be connecting in their own unique way as well. And they'll be getting the medicine, so to say, what they need in that moment too.
yes. And the information that they need.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you can connect in and meditate on a particular essential oil, but you can do the same with if you're lucky enough to be around trees, you can sit
Yeah.
with your back against a tree and meditate and get that information.
And quite
Get that.
often we have a favorite tree that we may visit or go to or something like that, or
Yeah.
something we just like always catches our eye and just to strike up that conversation, I guess, with that
Yeah.
tree. Get
Yeah.
introduce yourself and give it a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to give the tree a hug. I do think that there's more to trees than we're actually tapping into. I think this of all elements.
Yeah.
Like I always get the impression, like crystals, that we just haven't actually turned them on yet, sort of properly. And it's a bit, all of these elements, we just really don't know the full extent of how we can use them for
Mm.
our own well-being.
And I think, it's also to how progressed we are and available and open to receiving it as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure, definitely.
Because,
But yes,
they're not
that's
going to
my
know something
advice.
which
Go
we
and hug a
haven't used.
tree. Mm. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Well, that's been an absolutely lovely conversation. I've really enjoyed this. And we're going to be speaking again very soon. And what are we going to be talking about next time, Natasha, if you could just remind me?
We're going to be talking about crystals,
Oh,
but
okay.
slightly not the normal information about crystal because there's so much information about
Yes.
crystals,
Yeah,
isn't
there's
there?
things. Yeah.
We're going to be looking at some maybe a bit more unusual
Okay.
information about crystals.
Okay, well that's keeping us curious. So we'll have to tune in for that one definitely. And I look forward to connecting with you again when we speak about the curiosity of crystals in this new way, which we might not know about yet.
That's
So
it.
everyone who's been watching today, thank you so much for joining us today for this cuppa with Natasha. And Natasha, thank you very much for your time today and also for sharing your wisdom about the trees and the Celts. I've learned definitely stuff today without a doubt. So I'm sure others have too. And yeah, if you feel like you want to learn more about this, then I definitely recommend you reach out to Natasha. How's the best way to reach out to you, Natasha?
Through my website is always a good way, but you can
Okay,
message me on Instagram as well. That's both are absolutely fine.
brilliant. All right, then. Well, take care, everybody. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening where you are in the world. And thank you once again, Natasha, for being with us today.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Claire. Bye.